Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Drive Talk podcast. I'm here with my good friend, co-host Petrolped, and one of our most popular guests. I don't know how. I mean,
no, do I?
They must have been pretty bored.
Mystery.
It's a mystery to me.
Definitely
I still
a
think
mystery.
you're winding me up. I'm fodder. Obviously, the person hasn't turned up again today, and you just said, "Quick, jump in the seat."
Well, yeah, we did do that again to you. No, it's Mr. Tony Lewis, and we're down here at none other than Berry BMW and Mini in Heathrow, which was where we both used to spend way too much time. Well, you worked there, and I just used to come down and bug you all the time. But we were meant to be at one of Mr. Berry's new showrooms. Do you want to start with just telling us about some of his new ventures?
Yeah,
And maybe why we're not at that dealership.
Okay, so we're obviously expanding. Mr. Berry has decided he wants to multi-franchise, and has told me that I better get used to selling Hyundai and BYD.
You said it right, Hyundai.
Yeah.
Hyundai.
Hyundai like Sunday.
Hyundai. Got to say it right.
Hyundai like Sunday.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of new franchises. We've got a BYD dealership now in Thames Ditton, just down the road from our BMW site.
Yep.
And we were just about to open Hyundai at Chiswick, next to our BMW Chiswick showroom. And we were going to have the launch today. We were going to launch it all tonight. And that's why we were getting together. But unfortunately, at the last minute, there's a few complications and we haven't been able to open up the doors proper. It is open for business, but we're going to have a soft opening today, but we've postponed that now to March.
Yeah. So we'll do a Drive Talk podcast live down there at some
Sounds like
point.
an excellent excuse to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we're doing now tonight. We're actually going to be doing our second or third ever live. Second live off the hook.
Yeah, we did one at Cafe in the Machine.
Yes.
As a practice.
But that was recorded, wasn't it?
Yes. This is the second only live once.
Yeah, with Tony Lewis again.
Yeah.
It's almost
well,
like...
his stories were so unbelievable. And he said he had a few left over, so we thought we'd have him back on again.
Yeah.
To be fair, I've got to be really careful this time. I've actually got a list of things that I can't talk about rather than what I can talk about. So, it'll be a bit of fun.
I just checked to see if there are any police officers in the audience this time, unlike last time.
Oh, I've got some stories tonight.
My mum and dad are going to be there. I mean, dad would just be like... You'll be telling a story and he'll be thinking about your intro that you said 20 minutes ago. But mum will be in tune with it also.
Your mum's coming tonight?
Yeah, they're both coming.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I love your mum because she's.
Yeah, no, I think they're really looking forward to coming down.
I haven't seen them for ages.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Good. Right, so where are we going? We've obviously done a podcast already this year about the state of the car industry.
We
We covered everything comprehensively.
It's going really, really well. Don't worry. Everything's fine. Everyone's buying loads and loads of cars. And it's great. Actually, I'm really busy. I'm not joking. It's really busy.
Well, judging from Instagram, there's not a shortage of nice M and M Sport cars flying out the door.
No, well, this is it. And I think a lot of it's to do with this new road tax that's coming in on the 1st of April, because that's going to massively impact M3s and to some extent M2s.
Something else that's going to stitch up all of us drivers in terms
Trying to be positive.
But you say that. We turned up earlier on. Ped was a little bit late, even though he said he was going to be early.
That's the first time I've been late. You're normally the one that's late, mate. So wind it in.
He's been working way too hard, which we'll probably get onto soon. Ice driving out in Finland and whatever. Anyway, but when we turned up, it was like Piccadilly Circus out there. There was so much going on. Cars going left, right, and centre.
Genuinely, it's really, really busy.
Lots of 7 Series, because you do a lot of servicing here for all the your Diplomat. There was Diplomat cars. There's everything out there.
Yeah, well, Heathrow is also our corporate centre, so we've got a lot of corporate business being based where we are.
Yeah.
But we've got a corporate team here that are knocking out like hundreds of cars a month.
Yeah.
On top of the retail side of it.
Yep.
And Mini's particularly busy because Mini's switching to its agency sell model for order take from 1st of March.
Yep.
So consequently, the dealers are getting all of their cars that they've got in stock down to get them gone basically as quickly as possible. So we're, I suppose, maximising sales whilst we can as a retail dealer before we switch to agency.
Okay.
What does that actually mean? Because it's a term that you'll hear. There's a few other brands do it.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys watching will have no idea really what that means.
Okay, in its simplest term, if you imagine that you have a shop and you are buying something directly from the wholesaler and you buy it for £100,000 and you sell it for £115,000. So you have a £15,000 markup. Out of that £15,000, it's up to you how much you want to give off. And that's pretty much how it is at the minute. The dealer buys the car at a price, sells it at list price, but you can negotiate down from list price. And if you think about it, it's probably the only industry where you can actually go in somewhere and don't pay the price that's on the screen. You know, I mean, we all go and try and haggle, but you don't normally succeed in haggling. But with car industry, it's always been different. So people are used to haggling, and that's why you have a dealer margin that's then affected effectively by how much discount the dealer's willing to give. With agency sales, the difference is instead of the dealer buying the car from the manufacturer and selling it to you for a profit, the car is actually still owned by the manufacturer. So with an agency model, the manufacturer owns the car, they send it to the dealership, we sell the car, and we get paid a handling fee for selling that car.
Right.
Most dealers are not going to want to give away the handling fee because it's not going to be a huge amount of money. But that said, if you think dealers make a fortune out of selling a new car, well, that stopped 25 years ago. You know, those days are long gone. So the dealership's not expected to suffer. The deals on the cars will be controlled by the manufacturer, and there'll still be deposit contributions, there'll still be low APRs, there'll still be great deals to be had. But what I think the big advantage for us sitting this side of the fence is, if you come to me today and said, Tony, I want an M3, I'm telling you it's June delivery now. There's nothing available because I've got nothing in my group. I've sold all of our build slots. There's other slots out there for other dealers, but they're not necessarily going to give me that car to sell you. So I'm quoting June delivery. With this, all of the build slots are in one pot, and every dealer, all 150 dealers, have access to that pot. So if I can sell an M3, I can sell as many as I want because there's a whole pot full of cars, as opposed to me being limited to what I can sell.
Oh. Yeah, because I never understood that until, well, I mean, obviously I've known you for many, many years now, but I never understood that about, especially what you do. Let's go back to like M140s when you were selling like, I don't know, how many a month? Ridiculous amounts.
Do you remember that 1st of March?
The collection day.
There was, 15 mineral grey M1.
All of them lined up,
140s,
including mine. Yeah. That was and none of us could take them home because it was snowing outside.
It snowed literally that day. It was like, great.
But back then you tried to explain it to me a bit and it didn't really sink in. But it was like, I can't just order endless amounts of M140s. Yeah. I'm limited. This is what I'm allowed, or this is, this is my allocation.
Yeah, your allocation. Exactly. Yeah. Every dealer's allocated a certain amount of cars, and there are only a certain amount being built for each dealership.
On specific cars, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I never understand. So that must make it very tricky because if you've got a popular car on a good deal, you sell them and then that's it. It's gone. It's like, I've got no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does. I think the new scheme will be good. I mean, I don't want to think it's going to make cars more expensive, and I think that's probably the cynical view. Is a lot of people think, prices they can't just keep going up because, as I'm experiencing now, there's a lot of my customers that are going, I just can't afford the new one. You know, I'm in the one you got me 2 years ago, and it's great, but I can't afford the new repayments.
Are you finding, and you don't have to answer this, but are you finding some of your customers almost going down to having an M4 now they're in an M2 just because the monthlies are expanding and
that's been happening for a while, to be fair. I think a lot of people came from M4 M3 down to M2, but I don't think that's actually just about the price. I actually think that's a good product. It's a bargain.
It's M4. A bit like the last generation as well. Yeah.
So when you think what you get in the new M2 and it is all running gear from an M4, I think it's a bit of a bargain. And that's been the car that's been just flying out the door the last few weeks.
Especially the updated one.
Yeah.
Have I driven one yet? No, but I've heard lots of good things about it. Russ took his on a track day recently, and he just said it's just basically stock at the moment. He's like, it's unreal. It's still great. Yeah. And for Russ to say that.
I was going to say, coming from Russ, that's the blooming compliment for the car, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's that good. So, yeah, I've got one coming. I've just committed myself
to maybe we should start with Tony's cars.
Yeah, can we maybe we'll start there, Tony, because every time I see you've got something new.
Yeah.
You had the black M3.
So the black M3 was a company car, and we have a 4-month cycle. That's finished, so that's now gone into used car stock. There's a very good used M3 for sale.
Yeah, watch my video.
I'm Barry Croydon. You can see it on Joe's video chat. So that's gone. So I was going to replace it with another company car, but I have to be honest, the way the company car scheme's gone and what's available to us now with the new rules and the new regs and everything has to fit in a certain bracket, it was becoming impossible to get anything I really want to drive. So the sensible thing to do is actually just get an M2 on contract hire and come out the company car scheme altogether. So that's what I've done. So yeah, I've got a Portimao blue M2 with silver wheels and a sunroof coming
Nice.
any week.
And
now.
you'll keep that for longer than 4 months.
Well, I'll have to because it's a 2-year contract.
Oh my goodness!
How are you
I'm
going
in
to feel
it.
about that, mate? Is that
Yeah, I mean, this is new territory for me.
yeah?
I've only done it once before. 2019 with an Alpine A110 was the first one that went 2 years. The only car that's ever gone 2 years. So
2 years.
I
That's,
know that's like a
not that I can
sentence.
talk, but you're good with keeping cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had my M2 for 7 years now.
Yeah.
Depending on whether you know about it being the second M2. But anyway, that's another story.
Triggers
because we never talked.
Triggers broom.
We never talked about that one, have we, Tony? Maybe that's for another podcast one day.
Oh, I forgot about that story. Blimey, it's all coming out today.
Yeah.
So I've got an M2 coming, and I've got a Toyota Yaris, GR Yaris, which I bought a couple
The
of months
new,
ago.
the new
No,
one?
no, I bought a cheap original car with like next to no mileage on it, which is just something to put away. I think they're going to be good news long term.
Are they still, 30-ish?
Yeah, I mean this was below, but they are sort of they're 30 to 33 for a very good one. And I think with the price of the new model being sort of 44ish, it's pushed. It stopped it pushing down on the old model, as it
That's
was.
impressive, though, isn't it? To keep that kind
Yeah.
of money in that car.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it really they've
Because
done
it
really
weren't
well.
a huge amount more than that new.
No.
What,
Exactly.
36, 37 new?
Yeah, I mean, I think I
Circuit
paid
pack
thir-
ones.
I bought a circuit pack car for like 33 and something, and sold it for 36 2 weeks later. So I just moved it on. I was just like, wow, there's profit, I'll take it, and then regretted it. So that's why I've gone back to that.
Yeah.
So that's that. The Alpine's going, and the M340's gone. So yeah,
M340i.
yeah, my Schnitzer,
Yep.
my AC Schnitzer Touring, which was the one I was going to keep forever.
Oh, wait. Literally, I saw you 2 months ago and you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
just got that. It's not going anywhere,
It's not
Joe.
going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's gone. Wow.
And R5.
Oh yeah.
Are we allowed to
Forgot
talk
that.
about that?
Yeah. Mrs. Lewis doesn't know that yet. Her new car. Yeah. We're going to share a Renault 5. So we've bought that, and that's coming at the end of April.
The all-new electric that you're just about to...
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
one at home.
Have you driven one? You've driven the
I've
Alpine
not
version.
driven the base R5. I've driven the
Yeah.
Alpine A290 built there.
Yeah.
I'm going to ring you a couple of days and see what you think.
Yeah, I've driven
Make sure I've done the right thing.
Yeah, I've no doubt. I mean, it's one of those cars. Let's do the whole electric thing.
Yeah,
It's
but
an electric car.
looks alone-
So Joe's not going to like it, but looks alone, I think they've smashed the looks out of the park.
Yeah.
completely, inside and out.
Yeah.
And yes, it's not got a billion miles of range, so it's a car that has a limited envelope of what you can do with it. But for what it's meant for, I think it's a cracking and good money.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an absolute Renault fanboy, as everyone knows. For me, it was just enough about the old Renault 5. I mean, I'm going back to like when I had a Turbo 2 and that old design dashboard. And when I get in the new one and looked at the dashboard, it's like, oh my God, they've replicated the shelf and the stitching and the seats even. They mirror. And I was just like, yeah, it's really giving me a vibe. And if I'm going to have an EV car, that's the EV to have, which is terrible coming from someone working for BMW. But anyway, it's cheap.
But it's good
so
that-
cheap.
That's the kind of EV that we need more of.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
so many EVs are mid-sized to large SUVs, big family cars, and you want lots of small, little, practical,
Affordable.
not massively. I mean, we still have to put it into context for lots of people.
Yeah.
It's still an expensive car at mid-20s for some people, a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
But when
compared
you
with
put- when-
50, 60 grand for some cars out there, it's brilliant money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think visually they're great. They look cool, and I think like you said, it's not rocket science. They've gone back to their past where they're known for, right? They've built some awesome cars, and we can all relate to it. I think even the younger generation, especially nowadays, are very aware of cars from the sort of 70s, 80s, 90s, and it's a great recipe. And I think that's you either go down that route or like BMW did with the i3. that was a really cool car. It was like a real modern Swiss Army knife of a car.
Yeah. And that's what this is to replace, because we've got the i3 at home. And
Of course. Oh, yeah, of course.
I think they're amazing
BMW
cars.
could release the i3 today, and it would still look like
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
If only they did have something like that. Well, I guess the newer class.
Ford have done the heritage thing. They've gone back into their past
Oh,
from the
yeah.
70s, and they brought out the Capri.
That's beautiful, that thing. Yeah. It's funny you say that. Last weekend we were at the DL12, Dougie Lampkin's trials event up in Sheffield. And who was it from Michelin that was trying to talk us into why he was...
Oh, no. So it was
it Andy?
What was really interesting is the Michelin's new company car policy is it's got to be electric.
Yeah.
So there's all these guys that want to mega petrol heads or do loads of miles going, well, I've got to have an electric car. So as soon as we walked into the bar, it's like,
Yeah,
it was just
guys. Which one should I get?
which one should I have? You know, but one of them was thinking about getting Capri, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
Didn't realise you were still allowed to drive when you were visually impaired. I shouldn't slag it off until I've driven it. To be fair, but I just can't get past its looks really.
Yeah, but I think looks. No, I think you can. I think you can be me because I think looks. And this is not me being Mr. I hate EVs. Oh, I do mostly. It looks a big. It's a big part of a car anyway. Visuals, right? And I think for an electric car, especially something like the 5 that you're going to use to get from A to B, that's got to then be that's got to be a fundamental part of the car. It's got to look cool and fun because otherwise it's just not. You look at something like the Ioniq 5N and that looks fun.
Joe's favourite car.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? Yeah, it was your favourite car of last year.
It was
your absolute favourite, and mine. Yeah, one of mine.
I nearly wet myself.
Oh yeah, and well, great car though.
You were in the passenger seat when he was going around the circuit.
It just puts so many smiles on people's faces. I mean, people interact, people love it. Rick the Spud even put a reel up on his Instagram page and it got 2 million views. So it just shows you that it's it's a popular car. But anyway,
I think you've got to have that look back over the shoulder thing. If you don't walk away from the car and look back over your shoulder and go, wow, I just love the way that thing looks.
Yeah.
Then the cars you just mentioned aren't doing that. But for me, the Renault 5 does. And I don't think it's just the heritage thing or my association of driving one during the 80s, but it genuinely does look a good car. It looks a good bit of fun. So
it just looks like it's cut from a different cloth to everything else. And I'm not really including BMW in this, not just because we're here, but there are a lot of, what was that thing we saw over there? And I'm going to describe it as a thing.
Alfa Romeo, I nearly said Milano, then the Junior.
Oh my God. Don't get me wrong, I've seen your video on it and I've seen pictures of it and it does look quite good in videos and pictures. But there was one out there and it was just, it was like a Nissan, it was just like literally.
Can't be that bad.
It should come either with a violin so you can just play it to yourself when you get home because you've just gone and purchased that. It's just, to me, I looked at it and went, that is a Vauxhall. And then you told me it's actually from the same group. It's like, oh my God, it literally is a Vauxhall. And I think if Alfa, in my opinion, are failing that badly, it's great to see that at least someone like Renault and Alpine.
Here's a question. What's the most goppingly ugly car that you can think of that's been made?
For me, it's a Ssangyong Muso.
Oh, man, anything from Sangyong's bad.
Original.
Yeah, Sangyong. I mean, the current
Fiat Multipla. The original Fiat Multipla.
Oh, the Multipla. Yeah, but at least that had there was something cool about that car.
Really?
They've got a bit of a cult following now.
They have. I used to work
they're so
with a guy
ugly.
who had one and he loved it. I'm like, mate, really? Look at it.
I have to say, one of the ugliest cars that is being made currently is the BMW 7 Series.
Oi. Behave yourself.
Especially the ones with the SE, like the chrome.
Oh, the
grill.
excellence.
Just in case you haven't seen the grill that's that big. But yeah.
If you've got security on the door, we're going to be allowed out when we finish. I don't think we're allowed to come in and...
I think Wayne's ringing Tony now.
Phone's vibrating in my pocket.
Get him out of here. No, but but again, the new 7 is a very spec dependent car, very spec dependent.
Yeah.
But I think there are some. There's not. But then if we reverse that, and I said to you, "What's the prettiest car on sale today?" There's nothing. There's okay. You got your exotics, but even some of them I struggle with a little bit. Unless you go. I think something like a Porsche. A 911 is still a very, very good looking car, but even that's spec dependent. Depends which way you go. If you let,
as long as you let James from Michelin on it,
if you let James from Michelin spec one.
Sorry,
James.
You might have to cut that out.
Oh no, sorry, it wasn't. No, James stands by it. Wasn't him that spec the car.
It's going to be there next week. You watch.
Oh yeah, no, that's not going anywhere.
We haven't actually given a shout out to Michelin, which we should do.
Well, we kind of did at the start with Charlie coming in, but
Yeah.
we definitely should do.
Yeah, big shout out to Michelin.
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah.
So,
No.
where are we going? What we need to pick this man's brains
Yes.
for both some outrageous stories, but just generally how things are going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we want to know, like, the main difference between, because how long have you been selling cars for now, Tony?
35 years.
Wow.
Wow, that's like 10 years older than Pat.
33. Might be 33. Might be 33.
33. Okay, so 30 plus years anyway.
92 on a K.
I'm not sure
That's
if
how
you're
we put
selling
it.
cars back in.
92 on a K.
You were just stitching people up with cars back in the day.
No,
But we'll get to that soon.
Yeah, we might have to do that one tonight, not on air.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, yeah,
Joe, don't get him into trouble.
92 on a K at Vauxhall, and the first car I sold was a Vauxhall Corsa 1.2 LS with a £99 pop-up sunroof that we cut and put in ourselves.
Oh, remember the day
They used to take your fingers off when you closed them.
What? Oh,
with the little latch that
Yeah,
I had one of them in my Fiesta.
Yeah, you always used to.
But that was when you'd spec a sunroof and the dealer would cut a hole in the roof and put it in for you.
Oh yeah.
oh my. I mean, that's. No wonder they used to get rotten leaks and stuff in them within like a few months.
That weren't the reason. That was the metal on the car, mate, just giving up. It wasn't so much the
my
sunroof.
goodness.
The sunroof was probably still there 10 years later. It's the rest of the car.
But
that's
they were
gone.
good little cars, though.
Yeah, they were fun. I mean, didn't have power steering. But
No.
you had to get.
Well, some of them did, but not the ones you sold.
No, the one. You had to go up to a 1.4i GLS 5-door or a 1 or an SR. No, the SRI I don't think actually. The GSI did. The 1.6 GSI.
See, look, this is a car show. SRI.
To some people now, that might sound ridiculous because all modern cars have got power steering, right?
Yep.
But I remember my dad he went from a Triumph Dolomite, which was quite a cool car, but it blew up. No, the head gasket went.
It did triumph.
He then came home proudly announcing he got a new car. He bought a Talbot Solara.
Oh my God.
I've never even heard. I've heard of Talbot, but
Mate,
not Solara.
Google it when you go home.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
Just a
horrendous.
horrific
Oh.
car. Yeah,
Father like son, then they both.
yeah, horrific car. ANU 924Y.
Oh,
Number plate, yeah.
Excellent.
Oh no. He had a green one that was MRB 836W, and then after a year he chopped it in because he wanted to get one with power steering. So my dad he bought a Talbot Solara, which was an appallingly horrible car.
I'm gonna have to Google this while we're
Oh
talking.
mate, it's terrible. It's just a tragic car.
Okay.
And he had it for a year, and went and bought another one. And he thought the only upgrade it needed was power steering. What about a complete new body, new engine?
Different brand.
Oh, mate. Just bad. You're going to have a look at...
Oh my! It's one of those cars. It just looks.
It's
And don't take
indescribable.
this the wrong way because I talk a lot about depression and stuff and take it very seriously. And I hope everyone on that note, I hope everyone's in a good space at the moment. But it looks like it's really not happy.
It
looks like a very sad car.
About taking a look back as you walk away from your car and going,
Yes.
my
If you look
God,
back at this, you'd be like, if you were smiling, you wouldn't be. Look at it.
He doesn't need to. He knows
I
what it is.
remember it.
The second...
It's burnt onto my brain what it looked like.
What it was my dad had Hillmans. He'd had a couple of
Yeah.
Hillman Hunter and a few. And I think Hillman went into Talbot because they got acquired. And then he ended up he sold that and he got a Peugeot 309, which was all right.
Good car.
Yeah, very nice car. I learned to drive in that car. And then I went to work for British Aerospace, who at the time were owned by Rover, owned Rover.
Yeah.
And we got a Rover 214 GSI.
Was that the Honda? The 2-1, was it? Because I know for a while,
Did it have
Rover, weren't a few? I'm sure. when I was growing up, some Rovers were like
the Rover and Honda were the same.
Yes,
The
they were the good years. They're the only
K
Rovers
engine,
you still
K
see on
series
them.
engine.
That's
So
right.
he did redeem himself.
Yeah.
Because I helped him get a Rover
I
214.
had a Montego Turbo. Oh, mate. I mean, they were only like, I think they were like 130 brake, but they had torque steer as if it had 300 horsepower through the front wheels.
Probably only weighed about 800 kilos. Though.
Yeah. I mean, if you had like a couple of degrees of lock on, you were going that way. If you floored it, you were just off. You were not fighting it back. It was just that way or that way. You choose.
Wow. And they did Maestro Turbo as well.
Yeah. Very rare. Very rare.
They were the fastest of all the hot hatches, weren't they?
So I started out of Vauxhall 92. And it was really different back then. I mean, we didn't have computers. You know, nothing was on the internet. Everything was brochures, price lists, and
92.
Yeah, 92.
Nothing was on the internet because it didn't exist.
That'll be the reason.
Was it not on your smartphone either?
No, didn't even have a camera phone.
Any youngsters watching this going to be like, "What? What do you mean?"
Yeah. No internet. No.
I'm that old. Even I can't remember that. It's just like, there was no computers. That'd be why. We did have electricity.
And before anyone gets in the comments, that the internet was there in form, but it didn't really start till 1995 when Windows 95 came out.
Okay.
That's what most people would say the internet.
Yeah.
And even then, we still didn't have computers in the
No,
car
no.
trade. We were just manual in those days.
And don't
Everything was
forget,
manual.
the internet and the World Wide Web are two different things completely.
Yes. Yeah.
And because the internet was invented by the Americans and the World Wide Web was invented by an Englishman.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh.
So you learn so much on these podcasts.
Oh, God, it's a bit of my old job there. Morse too.
Oh yeah, of course. It's your background.
Sir Tim Berners-Lee.
Yes, I know that name.
Yeah.
Comes up a lot on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of years at Vauxhall, and then funny enough, in those days, it's like if you wanted to start selling cars, it wasn't like you'd get a job at BMW as a trainee. That was non-existent. You had to go and cut your cloth in the brands like Vauxhall and Ford for 4 or 5 years before you could even be entertained as selling BMWs. And back then, of course, Audi was like the one car in the Volkswagen showroom. So you'd have a Volkswagen dealership, but there'd be a little Audi 100 in the corner, and everyone would go, "What's that?" And it's just like, and you think now Audi's probably bigger than.
Yeah.
It's the brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I went on from Vauxhall and moved around a bit, learnt the trade, and eventually ended up in some prestige brands like Mercedes for quite a while. Did quite a bit of time at Mercedes, and then ended up at BMW. And I've been doing BMWs now for the last 20 odd years.
How did people buy cars back then? I know that sounds like a really stupid question, but today, because I get so many comments especially in cars that are in the higher price brackets, that no one really buys them. They're all on like PCP finance deals. You're just basically renting the car. How did people buy them? Was PCP a thing then, or was it mainly a cash or loan?
HP for
HP kind of
wasn't
thing?
it?
PCP did come in. It was called Choices 1, 2, 3 at Vauxhall. And it came,
You've got Tourette's. We're having a conversation anyway, and every now and again, Joe or Pat will just go, stop being in a carry-on film.
matron. So probably, that was about 95, 96. Yeah, it was P-Reg, PRS, 95, 96, 97.
When we do the date reference, we'll just ask you which reg.
Yeah, that's my brain. That's a motor trade brain
work
works.
it out.
Yeah, exactly. And we got this one computer in the corner of the Vauxhall showroom that we could do the finance quotes on. So you'd sort of sit at this thing with the customer next to you. I never did this, but there were salespeople, and I think I might have said this on a previous podcast or at some time to you guys, but there were salespeople that were saying, "So, sir, you give me £2,000 deposit and you pay £200 per month for 3 years, and at the end we're going to give you £9,400 back and the car's yours." They sold them the GFV as being a cashback. And there was a lot of people at the start were being sold cars where they thought that they were getting money back.
On purpose?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the salespeople doing it had no intention of being there in 3 years' time when the cars come back.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you were by accident, if you forgot? Customer came in. Can I buy?
Ped was one of those customers. That's why he never finances cars anymore.
That's right.
It never came true at the end.
Because they said it's the guaranteed future value. That's what we guarantee you get back.
So like,
No one. I mean, yeah. You'd like to think someone would sit there and go, "Hang on a minute, 36 times 200. I'm giving you How does that add up that you're going to give me back £7,000 or £8,000 or £9,000? So it did happen because PCP was brand new. People didn't understand it. So
so it was mainly like bank loans and
That must have
full cash purchase.
Yeah, it got worse at Mercedes though. I mean, at Mercedes, I worked with a business manager. I think from memory, he had about 9 kids, and so he needed to earn some money. And what he did was
should have just spent some money on some precautions, shouldn't he? By the time,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was before the FCA days, and back then, I mean, it was Mercedes. If somebody walked into your Mercedes showroom and you had a CLK convertible, they had to ask if they could buy it, and you would ask them, are they paying cash or finance? And if they said cash, you'd say no, you can't buy it. And then you'd say, have you got a part exchange? And they'd say no, and you'd say, well, then you can't buy it. You need a part exchange, and you have to take out finance, and you can have that car.
Because you'd fleece them on both.
Yeah, I mean, the
short.
waiting list was years. You know, if you had a CLK convertible in your showroom, and this 2001, so it's like CLK 230 compressor. You know, and so you'd sit down with a business manager, and this business manager would convince them that the best way to go was something called balanced payments, and there'll be people out there that have been in the motor trade a long time going, oh my God, balanced payments. Balanced payments, you never really pay anything back. You just have a monthly payment that you can afford.
Okay.
Like an interest-only mortgage.
Pretty much. And the idea is you're meant to make overpayments to reduce what you owe.
Ooh.
But no one ever does.
No one ever does. And the balloon at the end was just like 80 or 90% of the original loan, and you never pay it back. And you were just buried in this car. And the reason he did it was because the finance commission on a 60,000 pound car, it would have been then CLK convertible, you would be looking at 10 to 12,000 pounds finance commission for the dealership, and he'd earned 10% of that. So
wow.
So yeah, there was some very, very naughty things done before the FCA got hold of it all, and we became much more better regulated. There's loads of stories, but there's stuff I'll never tell you guys.
Well, maybe tonight.
Maybe tonight.
We're going to pluck some out.
So
of
this
you.
is why, right? On a serious note, this is why when we say on our socials, there's an Only Live Once podcast, you really do need to come because we get some really.
You're not allowed
stuff
to record that one.
No.
Tony goes off the hook and then spends the next few days calling me going, I really shouldn't have said that last night. It's like, no, you shouldn't have. But it was fun to listen to.
Don't worry, we don't take everyone's phones off, so they could be recording it in there.
They could be, yeah. I'll never tell that story about that one-legged prostitute again, I'll tell you. I'll never live that one down.
Before we move forward to the here and now, I just want to cut in quickly and say I was doing something with Michelin yesterday, actually, at Porsche Reading. I don't want to ruin the storyline, but yeah, it's something exciting that's happening with Michelin. And I was talking to and I'm sorry, Tony. I
can feel a divorce coming on.
I did feel like I was cheating on you a little bit, although it wasn't from me and wasn't my car. But talking to this lovely younger, did I just say that? No, a guy called Anthony, or Anthony, as he says, because he's from New York. He's only just been here a couple of weeks, but he was talking to me. I was like, what are the differences? And he was like, he's really animated, funny guy. And he said, I just can't get my head around. He's like, in the States, if someone comes in and wants to buy a car, whether it's a Porsche or whatever, we just take their money. And there's the car. See you later. And he's like, over here, you've almost got to fight them off. It's like, if you got funds to pay for it, yes. All right then. Well, where have they come from? And you can't pay cash, and you can't. And he said, most of my study over the last 3 weeks of Porsche, he said, has been looking into how we've got to look at people's backgrounds and make sure that their money and their funding is coming from, and all this. And he said that, I was like, it's mad. It is mad. Like, in a way, I can see both sides of the story, but he was just like, in the States, he's like, cash, fantastic, and it's just so, obviously that's like quite old school, isn't it, compared to, because now it's just, you don't get, how often do you get someone come in and what, can you talk through, I know I've jumped forward a bit, but can you talk through what you have to do in some cases if it's not confidential, but like you do have to look, you can't sell to other dealers or
resellers.
Resellers.
Yeah. So if you're an independent dealer, say, someone from Romans phoned us up and said, "Can we buy a car to put on our forecourt?" No, you can't. You can't.
Right.
And they know that, so they don't ask. So,
Yeah.
But there's certain rules basically about resellers reselling the car for a profit. Exporters, because obviously our UK cars are meant to be for the UK market. They're not supposed to be exported to places like Thailand and Malaysia, which, to be fair, their tax rules have all changed in the last year or so. So that's kind of died a death
Less
now.
favourable.
It doesn't make sense to do it anymore. So that's gone away. So you have to do checks. I mean, there's very few customers that come in and want to pay cash for BMWs. There's the odd one or two, but the majority will use BMW's money, especially with low rate APRs.
Yeah.
But for the conventional stuff, it's just straightforward. You do your usual credit checks, and the due diligence is done by the finance company to check the customer's legit. But if it's something very extreme, that you're selling, that there's a limited run on, then in a lot of cases, BMW will insist that we do a reseller check. So we basically got a massive crib sheet of things we have to tick to say, we've checked this, have they passed another dealership to get to you? Why would they do that? If there's a local dealer selling the same car for the same price, you check all of these little things out about the customer. And if you've satisfied all of that, then we'll do potentially a check on their address. So we'll basically do a Google view of their address to make sure that it's sort of the car fits with the criteria, the look of the area and the house.
Yeah.
That's again because resellers can sometimes just be selling out of anywhere.
Is that why you've got a bigger garage now, Ed?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, the doors, I didn't actually care about the doors.
Yeah.
Because from like Google View, you can't see the doors
What it
anyway.
was,
So.
I tried to buy an XM and I couldn't fit it through the door, so I needed like bigger doors. But I've made them as big as physically possible, and I still won't fit through.
Still won't get an
Oh,
XM through.
damn.
So for certain models, we have to do these checks. That again, it's just due diligence.
Yeah.
And it just says, look, we believe this customer is a legitimate customer who's going to buy this car to use this car, and that's all it's about. It's to stop people from speculating mainly.
But then, I mean, and those days are kind of, in the last year, unfortunately, those days are kind of gone for most brands, even with Porsche and some of their GT cars.
True.
I mean, it's just
I want to
scary.
ask you a question right now and about flipping.
Yeah.
Right, and I know you don't have the same thing as someone like Porsche would do, where you have to buy a certain number of cars to get an allocation. But I saw a thing just this morning. I think it might be collecting cars. They've got a 911 ST.
ST, I saw
Going
that.
on to collecting
300 already, isn't it? Over 300,000.
Yeah, and you're like, how?
Yeah.
So who? I mean, because the dealer principal, the dealer will have got an allocation.
What is
maybe.
it? Brand new though?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
And you're just like, I don't.
But then,
I mean, I know that person is. I mean, they're probably going to make 200 or 300 grand. So they'll
not even that. No way.
150.
No. I mean, depends on the spec, but base it's 260. Most of them are around 300 base.
Yeah.
And you can buy Auto Trader. What they're 400, some sub 400, 350 now.
But even those on Auto Trader, how the hell are they on Auto Trader? Why aren't there limits? Where you buy the car and you can't sell it?
I
for a certain amount of time?
I think again, if we'd just gone back a year when like the Sport Classic was new and the GT3 RS, that would have been a lot rarer. But I genuinely think that, as we all know, even Porsche and even their absolute halo cars are not selling at the moment. And I think also Porsche and BMW are doing it. We've got to a point where, let's face it, the car industry's not in its finest hour, and we're also with the Z
EV man.
Yeah, your favourite subject. Very good video, by the way. Where that's putting pressure on manufacturers, and at the moment, it's like I feel that even like something like Porsche are like, we need to sell everything at the moment. If someone wants an ST. You can have an ST. If you walked into a Porsche dealer and you wanted a GT4 RS, you can have one. And so we've got 4 lightly used ones over there. We've got some brand new ones out the back. And I think that's that's what's changing.
It is, but I don't understand why they're not getting more pushback, because I mean, to get an allocation for a GT product, a Spider, an ST, you will have been told you have to buy a certain number of cars, which probably include a bunch of electric. So
I was going to say that.
I know we're talking about Porsche here, but it would be the same for a special Aston Martin or Ferrari or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you go in, you buy your half a dozen cars probably to get a GT3 RS, and then flip it.
Yeah.
And but I mean, I had a friend a few years ago who he got an allocation for a Ford GT, and the paperwork with that.
Oh wow, that was rare.
It was you had to keep the car for I think 18 months or 2 years.
Yeah.
You literally were not allowed to flip it. He had 3 people who wanted to buy the car off him.
Yeah.
And he couldn't sell it to them.
Yep.
Because
of
this
illegal.
contract.
It was a legal contract. Yeah.
And that's fine. That for me is like, okay, that I get that because you have to buy into the commitment of having that car. And
if you really want it, then you can have it.
And what I don't understand is they've shot themselves in the foot really, because if you want to buy a Spider RS, right? I don't stress about I'm not in the money to buy a Spider RS, but I wouldn't be stressed about not being able to get a build slot because I know wait 12 months and I buy a used one.
Yeah.
Although and there's bloody loads of them on sale.
Yeah, well, today you would get...
Not even a Spider, even the Spider when that came out, or the GT4 when that came out, you couldn't buy one unless you were a special customer.
No.
Wait 12 months, they're all over the place.
Well, there's a GT4 RS that has been offered to someone I know for 4,000 under list.
Yeah, new. Go onto Auto Trader. There's 2 unregistered new YSAC pack GT4 RSs that are reduced on Auto Trader. Reduced from list. And a friend actually just posted today on Instagram, he's seen a Spider in a showroom, unregistered, Spider RS, reduced. Yeah. So what I'm saying, I think it's changed so much in the last 2 or 3 months. The market, that high-end Halo cars is...
And I guess we should probably add, we're using Porsche as an example because we're always looking at Porsche.
Oh, yeah.
Porsches because we like Porsche.
Aspiring to
I bet it's the same if you went to Lamborghini, your favourite brand.
For sure.
Yeah, because you love Lamborghini.
Sure.
Well, when I worked at Porsche West London in 2005, and back then, the dealers were basically saying, you can have this car, Mr. Customer, but you've got to sell it back to us. If you want a next allocation of the next model that comes out in 2 years or 3 years, we have to buy it back. Which was great, but the trouble was back then, Porsche AG wouldn't let the dealers buy over list. So it became an impossible task because it was like, well, you've got to sell it back to us, but we can only pay you back what you paid for it. But then, so you couldn't get a premium on it. They have relaxed that in the last few years.
Clearly.
Thankfully. But it was interesting. We used to have a debate about, I think I said this to you guys before, we were selling the 996 RS, the
GT3 RS.
And it was the customer would go, well, I don't really want it with the blue stickers. I want the red stickers. And you're just like, it's the same car.
Yeah.
But then, no, I'll wait for one with the red stickers. Or I want the blue stickers with the blue wheels. And I really want that. Yeah. And you just think now, like, you fool. You should have just bought whatever was in front of you. Because look at what they were.
What would you go with?
The blue.
You're more of a red.
Well, no, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think I'll be blue.
And red wheel.
Yeah,
oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, if you do the red decals, you've got to do the red wheels.
I do know someone who's got a 997 GT3 RS, white and red.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting. But sorry, I know we've kind of gone off on a bit of a tangent there.
Don't we always?
Well, we always do, yeah, especially when you're in the hot seat.
Yeah.
But okay, so over the years, so we've moved from cash deals and very dodgy finance deals.
Yeah, very dodgy. We don't do anything like that anymore.
No.
Everything is proper.
Well, now it's gone the other way, hasn't it?
Yeah,
everything is
extreme.
You've got that much paperwork to fill in.
Yeah.
It is a tricky question then. Do you think back then people bought cars that they could afford? And when I say afford, I mean they can afford. Whereas now it's probably easier, even with the due diligence checks that you do, to buy a car that you can't afford. Think you can afford, but you actually can't. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sounds like every car I've ever bought. To be honest.
Well, yeah,
and most of mine.
But
it's too easy. We made it too easy. I mean, you've got to think back. It wasn't that long ago we were doing X3Ms when they first came out.
600. 599.
599. £599 deposit, £599 a month. For
so you got the deposit in your back pocket.
Yeah.
And then
it was the same with M2s were 520, 520.
But on that, what happened with the X3M? What did we see? Most things 6 months after they launched that campaign.
Well, most people lost their fillings. That's what we saw.
Like from accidents?
No, because it was just so hard.
Oh, well, the ride. No, but remember how many big accidents were on social?
Yeah.
Every person was putting it into a tree and it's because that it's because people, and I had someone message me, they'd come out of a Vauxhall Corsa at $399 a month and went to an X3M.
And turn the traction control and everything off just
into
to
a
launch
500 horsepower bunny hopping thing. And that's, but that was, they were so many of them. And then I remember then the insurance went through the roof on those. But that's the danger as well, isn't it? It's like suddenly, if you make these cars too cheap and affordable, you've got people, if I was a 20-year-old and I'd be like, oh my God, I could probably, living at home, I could afford to pay.
It's your own expense. You just do it, wouldn't you?
And I've always, I think we're very different. You've been a lot more sensible, and you always buy your cars. And I think if you've got the money, that's definitely the best way to go.
Always.
No, but actually, that's not always. But I think for me, I've mostly always, apart from the M2 that I end up buying off the finance company in the end, I've always financed. But a lot of that has to do, let's just even go back to like M140s. What were they, 35 grand or 40 grand with a nice spec on it?
Yeah.
Like even though in today's world that sounds like great value, I didn't have 40 grand in my bank. I didn't. And if I did, I wouldn't put all that on the car. But I was quite happy to throw £400 a month down on it because for me it was like that. I've paid the small deposit.
It's beer money. £400.
Yeah, it is.
A couple of nights out a week.
Yeah.
Or you have a nice car, and that's what I think a lot of people did. They sacrificed going out, and then the car culture became their thing.
Yeah.
And do the car meets. You've got a lovely car. Unfortunately, we've seen it the last year that the prices are just slipping away now. Everything is just it's all against it.
You can't. I mean, you say I always buy my cars. I haven't. The Mini was the last car I bought. Cash, and that was 21 grand, I think.
Yep.
The TT that I bought or chopped that in for, I bought that HP over 3 years.
Oh, okay.
But it was my car at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then the money that I had in that, with a little bit more, I bought the Mini cash.
Yep.
And then, and then obviously the Clubman, that was on finance.
Did you sell the TT to Peter Curtin?
No.
Hey, Peter, if you're listening or watching.
He might be coming tonight.
Yeah.
And then the Porsche's on finance, and I'm just about to buy a 911 for 80 odd grand. I haven't got 80 odd grand. I'll be buying that on finance.
That's just a brilliant segue. We need to talk. No, that's a conversation we need to talk about.
Okay.
Because I think...
Because we've got the Mr. Car spec there.
Mr. Car spec there.
Ex-Porsche.
But it's just interesting because we were talking about this off camera a bit earlier on. New car prices are going up. At the moment, the used car market seems to be relatively low not on the floor, but relatively low. Yeah. I think things have settled from the silly years of COVID where a used car was the same price as a new car because you couldn't buy a new car. So I think the market's just settling and it's settled now, right? But there still are exceptions, and they tend to be cars that people want to buy. Yep. So whether it's a nice M car or a Porsche product, a Macan electric, not the electric, the combustion engine version. So like one of those. No, but just talk us through. So if you don't mind, like you're looking at two Porsches actually, aren't you?
Yes.
So you'll be a full Porsche household.
We'll see.
Yeah. Right. Will you still speak to us guys? Like,
so no.
Is the snobbery going to be too high at that point?
So the main one, and my Boxster.
Yep.
Was on a 3-year PCP, and that 3-year PCP ends in May.
Okay.
So I've got to do something.
Yep.
My options are refinance the balloon.
Yep.
Buy something else.
Okay.
Or
how many cylinders has that one got? I always forget.
It's the best one. It's got 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's Beetle basically.
Yeah. And that. So I'm looking at trading up.
Yep.
In the Porsche family, and going to 911.
Because I know it's most of our dream car.
Always wanted a 911.
Yeah.
Always wanted a 911.
But looking on the 911, that's interesting in itself, isn't it? Because
my budget is right on the border of a generation of 911.
Yep.
So I can either get one of the last 991.2 generation, or one of the first 992 generation.
Where would you go, Tony?
I'd always get the best of the last. I'd never be the first.
You're more like that, right?
And here's the thing. So with my budget, in 991.2, I can get a GTS. And in 992, I can only get an S.
GTS.
Now, they're exactly the same horsepower.
Yeah, because they always level up, don't they?
Yeah. And therefore, GTS is probably where I'm going to go.
Okay. Whereas I'm and I think Pat's similar to me. It's like I would always go, like, especially with 911, base car for me is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And and always knew it's like newer and base. But
yeah, see, I can't.
You like your GTS bling?
No, I like I've always been, all of the cars that I've owned and Tracy's owned, I've always been the top trim level of that model. Never had a base car. And I would rather buy a slightly older car and get, if it was Porsche, it would be a GTS. If it was, when we had Land Rover product, it was always an HSE or an autobiography spec, just because you get everything and you get nice wheels. It's got a nice interior. I've always been, I don't like base cars.
Yep.
I'm intrigued with the 911 base thing, which the press always say the smallest wheels, it's the sweet spot of the car. And I understand that, but there is...
There's half of me looks at it and goes, you could only just afford to buy an 911, couldn't you? Because you couldn't afford the good one.
Yeah. Yes.
I look at a base.
This is a great podcast because I can have a go.
I look at it the other way, but then you'd probably have an aero kit on your car.
Well, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Because to you, that's a bit of
why haven't you got a base 5 Series or a base 3 Series?
If Tony
it's the same argument, surely.
If Tony could, and he can't because BMW UK don't sell him and won't give you guys the cars. If Tony could have sold me a new shape 530D Touring, I would have had one.
Oh, that would have been a good car.
Yeah, but
that engine was phenomenal.
And
so the car you want, they don't do. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just go M5. Well, no, I think a lot of probably both of our decisions also are based around, our channel and the content we're going to produce. And
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do have a bit of an issue spending that kind of money on a 5-year-old, 6-year-old car.
Yeah,
it does make my eyes twitch a little bit.
Yeah, I thought you were just winking at me.
I thought he was having a stroke.
But the good news is, and I can't say because I haven't talked about it on the channel yet. But I've had my finance approved, and the numbers are actually pretty good.
Oh, okay, nice.
So
it could happen very soon then.
It's going to happen. It's got to happen soon because the car.
Oh, I think
I've got to do something.
Pat, has he told you anything?
No, the one I want, we're trying to get, and I can't get hold of it. So. I know.
I went through a similar thing about 6 months ago. I was sitting at home, and I didn't. You'd think I'd know better, being what I do for a living. But I was looking at used cars, and I think it was a 911, if I'm honest. And I looked at the monthly payment. I thought, "God, that looks really good." Anyway, I sort of going through this thing, and it was asking me questions, and I'm filling in my personal details. Before I know it, it says your loan's approved.
Oh,
and I was like, "Ooh." So the next morning, I get a phone call from
sliding doors. Which way do I go?
Get a phone call from the finance company, and then I thought, I'll swerve that. So I didn't. I swerved it, and then they emailed me. So I thought I'll reply. So my email reply was, "Yeah, I'm truly sorry. I really had one too many sherbets last night. Convinced myself I wanted to buy this car, and I've woke up this morning realizing I really shouldn't have done that." Yeah. And then the guy went, "Look, I appreciate your honesty. Thank you very much."
But I mean, to be fair, the residuals are such that the monthly cost for me going from Boxer to 911, it's only going to be another couple £100 a month.
Yeah.
But the difference between a 991 GTS and a 992 GTS, you double your monthly payments pretty much.
What? So the 991s are holding better?
Yeah, well, they're cheaper. Because 992 GTSs are still 105.
Oh, of course they are. Yeah.
But then, the 991.2 GTS, because there weren't as many made.
Yeah.
They're just a bit more sought after.
Wow. Yeah. So you're obviously buying like proper sort of, you're going hardtop, coupe driver's car. You've left the...
If I was buying a hardtop, I'd be buying a GT3.
Oh, okay.
I'm buying a convertible.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice.
Because I like convertibles.
I know.
And Tracy's given me permission to buy a convertible.
Oh.
She doesn't mind me buying a convertible.
But then the Mini's going.
Might have to go.
Oh, well, this is all... top secret. You've got to keep an eye on Ped's channel.
The Mini might have to go.
I'm trying to get
there
more
there might be other things coming on the Mini front. You never know.
Oh. Intrigued.
Yeah.
Tune in to find out more.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Oh.
Yeah.
You've lost me at convertible. I just switched off then, just completely. Just like,
So a GTS convertible, you're like, oh.
sorry.
The thing is, though, I like we were talking about that at Dorney House, weren't we?
Yeah.
But I think if I take the mickey out of convertibles, but I borrowed that Boxer GTS, same as yours, but the one with a slightly smaller cabin.
Yeah, and
Because
the
there's
bigger
that
engine, yeah.
extra couple of cylinders behind me. And I'll tell you what, as a road trip, like once you've taken that car, and I know you've done a few road trips in yours, okay, you can enjoy it here in the UK, but when you've actually got that car down in the Alps or something and the roof is off, and there's nothing better because you feel like you feel like very much like you're on a motorbike because you've just got nothing between you and like the overhang of the rocks and the views and even going up like a hairpin road. You could just look up. I don't know, it sounds ridiculous, but you can't you?
See the tops of the mountains.
It's great. You can rug up.
And I did an 8-day drive tour in Spain, 6 to 8 hours a day in the car. Never put the roof up. I never put the roof down up once. It was down all the whole time.
Wow.
Mega.
Yeah,
get your factor 30 on.
You need more than that with that.
But yeah, so we'll see.
Okay.
So
watch this space. Nice.
well, at least
Yeah.
another car for you to take the mickey out of.
No.
Boring spec, apparently.
Oh well, yeah. Some of this, that one you sent Pat and I was like, my goodness.
That's my dream. That is literally the car we're trying to get old for.
I was actually
that is literally the one I'm trying.
It wasn't that bad, was it, Pat? It was pretty nice. Actually.
I mean, that is the one car I want.
Yeah, no, it was nice. Yeah, it must have been.
I was so crestfallen. I'm like, this is the car. I reckon we've got the finance approved. Don't we? Just need to, because it's at a Porsche centre at the moment, and we need to get hold of it. We want this car, and they went, so boring, Pet. So dull.
And 20
rubbish.
seconds later, Pat's pulled one off the internet, which looks really interesting and fun. I was like, that's much better. No.
Tell him what the spec was.
It's like I've shown you a picture. It's like dark grey, and it's black. It's lovely. Hold on, let me just put my glasses on.
Sorry.
Right, that is unfair. Let me just.
It's actually probably not far off my M140.
That is actually quite pretty, in fairness. It's not the grey I thought it was going to be.
Does it have the GTS interior pack? Excuse me, Mr. Petrol.
It does have the GTS interior pack.
Yes.
Can you say that's not a good-looking car?
No. It's a great-looking car. Just the spec is just not for me. I don't know about black wheels and a grey car.
It's got black centre lock. Come on, look at the interior look.
Can I say? Yeah. No. Although, one second, I ordered a grey M3 off you with black wheels.
and I've just sold an M4 CS in grey with black wheels, and it looks great. Don't worry.
Black wheels are good to clean.
Yeah, maybe I'm just contradicting. Maybe I'm just
You're just being contrary, I think.
Yeah, probably. I have to with Ped.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, even if I think Ped's right, which very rarely is, I have to go the opposite direction.
Of course you do.
Yeah, because you're the whipping boy.
I am the whipping boy. Now, we're getting very close to the end of our time, but I do want to ask, and I'm going to do this in a way that doesn't put you on the spot. You must get people coming here to buy cars that have a current car with an agreement that they need to get out of.
Yeah.
You must have some proper horror stories of people coming in that are in a horrific position.
Yeah.
And does it happen a lot?
Does it happen a lot?
It doesn't happen a lot. I mean, to be fair.
Or did it used to happen more than it does now?
Yeah, probably the former.
Because you've got this wonderful term, negative equity.
Yes.
And if you're in that, it's a whole world of hurts.
My role's changed quite a bit since I've been doing this online stuff since 2016, 2017. And I don't take in a huge amount of part exchanges. And the ones I do tend to take in are the cars I've sold.
Yeah.
Which means they've started from a better base point than someone who went somewhere else and paid too much. So that helps. And a lot of the stuff I sell is really quite rare and well sought after. I mean, an M340 Touring is a great car. It's worth over book money. So they're okay. And to be honest with BMW, their residual values are set quite low, probably for a good reason. The main horrors I get are actually people that are in Mercedes and they've got a GFV that is just unrealistic. And they'll never get out that car. They're in it to the end. They'll have to hand it back. So they tend to be the worst ones. But it's normally someone has bought a car and then they realise after 6 months it wasn't the right car for them and they want to change it. And that's where it really hurts, because that first year depreciation is the worst. You know, it's not linear by any means. It literally, your depreciation is drop, and then it slows down in year 2, 3 and 4 and becomes almost non-existent. So that first year, if you try and change your car, I just say to people, if you're buying a new car, you have to keep it 24 months. You know, if you try and change it within 24 months, it's going to hurt. No matter what deal we did, it's going to hurt you. So don't do it. So, but yeah, there's a few people in there with Mercedes AMG products, and they'll come and look at an M product and they'll ask you for a price, and you just say, have you got a settlement figure? And they give you the settlement figure, and you just know. I mean, when I was in the showroom, it was Range Rovers. It was like you could actually see a Range Rover customer pull up on the forecourt, and you'd see 5 salespeople run out the back door. Literally, no one wanted to talk to him because they just knew this is going to be hard work. You know, he's buried in that car. You know, the only person who's going to do him a deal is Range Rover. That's how it works. And I think it's
and
similar.
bury him again.
And bury him
probably.
again. Yeah. So you know, I won't say any individual cases that I can think of because I wouldn't want to alienate anybody, but there have been quite a few cars where you just go, you know, that's horrible. In the old days, do you remember the speaking clock? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So in the old days, the salespeople
Sponsored by Accurist.
We actually had a problem at our old BMW showroom in Croydon. We had a bill that was astronomical for phones because people were ringing for the time. And all it was salespeople getting on the phone. They'd look at the customer and they'd go, not for me, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, no way.
They'd be on the phone to the speaking clock.
Have you ever done that, Pat, the speaking clock? Yeah.
Wow, Pat knows what it is.
Yeah, it was horrendous. It was great. And I remember working with one sales guy. He did the opposite effect. What he did was, and bless him, Chris Gomez. There'll be a lot of people that have worked with Chris Gomez over the years at BMW. His best one would be, I sat next to him in the showroom, and he would look out the window at a customer walking in, and he'd go, it's Mr. Jones. Great, I'm up. Let's go and talk to Mr. Jones. It wasn't Mr. Jones. He was just making it up. He was just determined to make sure everybody in the showroom knew that was his customer, and he'd be there first.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. He'd just pretend he knew every customer that was walking through the door. So you'd give up. You just
Unless they were in a Range Rover.
Yeah, unless they were in a Range Rover, and then he'd be out the door as well. Yeah. So yeah, there were a few stories like that.
That's brilliant. Wow.
So yeah, it isn't so bad these days because honestly, although the prices of cars have gone up, there's always been deals on cars of late, and the residual value of the car tends to be better than it could have been or would have been. So there isn't as many horror stories anymore.
Yeah. I think you just got to be. I think you would be a nightmare if you were a customer of yours. Does that make sense? Because you'd come in after 2 months, and go, oh, yeah, this is a great car, but I want another one.
Yeah.
I want a different one,
yeah.
But I think these days also deposits have got a bit bigger, and so people hopefully are going, right, I'm actually buying this as a car that I'm going to keep for a couple of years.
I think that the problem's probably not the main dealer level; it's the independents. My sister was she's looking to buy a new car back end of last year. And she had spoke to me, and she wanted a Mini, right? So, and then I hadn't spoke to her for a bit, and then we rang on the phone. She went, put a deposit down on a car yesterday. I went, what? What? Tell me about it. And she said, it's I wouldn't say how much it was, but I said, right, what's the APR on the finance? Don't know.
Oh.
What's the balloon payment? Don't know. What's your deposit? Oh, £2,000. Okay, that's fine. Send me the what you've got. So she sent me this thing through. She got on there 5-year warranty for another 1,500 quid. I think the car was like 18 grand or something. The lovely dealer fit scratchy wax and polish for £800. Alloy wheel and tyre protection.
They've literally done it for everything.
They've done a proper number on it.
And I'm like, wow, okay. And you've put a deposit. Yeah, okay. I said, right, all of that needs to come off.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and then I said, so must have been a really good deal. What deal did you get? She was like, what do you mean?
Oh, she just paid list.
I said, please don't tell me you walked into the dealership and just offered what the car was. She went, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, mate, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a
and of your sister, did you feel a bit disappointed?
No, I shouldn't be telling the airing of it.
No.
Anyway, she's cancelled it, and we're going to sort her out.
Good.
Start again.
But it was a really great example for me that we are in the space, bought lots of cars, know lots of people like you who are in the space, and to us, it's something that it even intimidates me a little bit. You know, I'm at the moment in the process of buying a car, talking to finance companies and getting my head around the numbers.
Yeah.
But would rate myself as pretty savvy on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 7.
Yeah.
Right. If someone walks into a dealership who's a 2 or a 3, they are open prey for an unscrupulous dealer.
Mm.
And that, for me, that's where I think the horror stories come in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not. I don't think that would generally be at a kind of main dealer level. I'm not. Kicking the independents and the smaller, car. It's the kind of car supermarket kind of.
Yeah, well, the car supermarkets work on a really, really tight margin on the car. So really it is all about
Volume.
the products. It's volume and the products. They make more money out of all the products they add on, the add-ons. We used to experience it in the showrooms. It's much better regulated now, and you're not allowed to do assumptive selling, which is where you build it in without asking questions. So
that's all changed.
So now you do a demands and needs
Just
survey.
another question I need to ask you.
All right. So you do a demands and needs survey now, which basically you ask a set load of questions, which then predetermine the answers to say, okay, so you've answered this, which means we should be offering you gap insurance. And because you said you have curbed your wheels recently, then we can offer you alloy wheel protection. So you're supposed to do that as a presentation during the whole process before you conclude the deal.
Yep.
But
do you offer to put Carrera Cup tyres on anyone's cars, or is that an option? Or
well, I've actually been asked about that. I mean, Michelin, the Michelin thing, is, the tyre lottery just comes up in every conversation at the minute with every customer.
I was literally talking to a good friend, Mitch, in Australia, who has got an M3 Touring, and
is his surname Ullin?
Mitchell? No, it's not.
It's Mitch Olin.
They call it Olin. Yeah,
it should be, because he's also just a fanatic of the brand. But we're talking about tyres and the tyre lottery, and he was like, he was talking about the M5s coming with another brand. I don't like to badmouth. He said, the M5s are being delivered on another brand of tyre. I wonder what your one's going to turn up and blah blah blah. And then his wife's just bought a M240i, and that turned up on another tyre brand.
Yep.
But he's like, oh, you guys are lucky. And I was like, no, actually, if you go back, like the original M2, and we've been stitched up with some tyres over the years. Like BMW UK. It's almost like in Germany, they're like, right, Michelin tyres, send them to Australia.
Didn't everything come on run flats for like forever?
Yeah, but even like so, and that was our conversation. M340i's in Australia they come on.
We've now got an option for non-run flats.
Okay. Well, from day one, they've come on Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres with a repair kit or something in the boot, and an option to go run flat. But obviously, no one goes run flat. Whereas we got it the other way around.
Yeah.
We were sold a car with wooden tyres, and it's like, but it is true. Yeah, but
I remember my first OG M2. You were creasing yourself because it had. I think they
Sport
were
Contact 3s.
Yeah,
we said
like,
5s.
They're 3s. They're not even 5s.
At the time, they were a 5-year-old tyre. Yeah. At the time, it's like, what are they? Where have they found? Have they? It's like, open this door and it's like cobwebs everywhere. Yeah, they do that. There's some Sport Contact 3s from 1980 in here. Let's put them on the M2. But that's how it was, wasn't it? Yeah. It's like first 6 months, customers were like, oh yes, we have got Pilot Super Sports, and then what are those? And that wasn't. I'm not bagging. I'm just at the time it was a 5-year-old tyre, and it was like, where have they found them?
I know.
But anyway, that's a whole nother podcast, and we are
out
of time.
But I want one more question.
Yes. Go
and
for it.
I forgot to ask it earlier on. The thing that happened back end of last year, that class action about finance and basically revealing what the commission payment was.
Yep.
And then a few manufacturers basically stopped financing cars for a few days while they sorted it out.
Yep.
Can you talk to that? What has that affected anything, or were you doing that kind of thing anyway?
No, I think. I mean, bearing in mind, I'm 99.9% new cars, so I don't really get involved in the used car side of the business. And this finance issue was related to used cars.
Right, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
So from a new car perspective, dealers have not been paid discretionary commission on new car finance for at least, I want to say 4, maybe 5 years now.
Okay.
We get what's called a document fee, which is a fixed amount of money, depending on what the car was. And it was in the hundreds. It'll be £300 on one car, £400 on another. It's insignificant amounts considering you're financing £30,000 to £100,000.
Yeah.
But on used car finance, it was a discretionary payment where the dealer didn't have to declare. Your dealer could basically set an APR and stick with it, and they were getting paid the commission between the two figures from what they're borrowing at to what they're selling at. And that, because that was discretionary, it meant that it wasn't a level playing field. And I think that was the main issue that the FCA was saying was, look, you could have one dealer charging a man 11.9 and another dealer's charging 7.9 for the same car. Why? And it wasn't declared.
Yeah.
There was never any declaration. So from a used car perspective, it was an issue. And what happened was all the finance companies went, right, we need to pull right back, just shut everything down for a few days, and we need to come up with a disclosure form that we now give to every customer during the presentation. So we will now hand you a form that says we are being paid this amount of money for this transaction.
Yeah.
And what consequently came out of that, which I think is great for the consumer, is that most dealers went, well, we just need to be sensible now with the APR. And that's why you saw a lot of used car APRs come down. And they tend to be it should always be fixed amount. You can't charge 7.9 on that car and 8.9 on that car. And so with BMW, they went, we'll set our stall here. And that's the APR for used cars as an approved used car. And we will tell you what we're earning as commission on that.
Right,
just as if you were borrowing from a mortgage company, the broker will tell you what he's earning out of that transaction. Cool. So yeah, that's what happened.
Nice.
I understand it now.
There you go.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Tony, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for hosting us down here tonight. You can find Tony on Instagram, TRL Deals. It's a very cool little Instagram page that he's very particular with.
It's just deliveries. Yeah, it's just people collecting their cars. That's all I use it for, really.
Yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? See what you're selling at the moment.
Yeah. You see all the colours, you see different specs, and you kind of get a feel for what's selling at the moment because, that's how it works.
And his email address and stuff is in his bio on there if you're interested in something new. Drop him online. I think we haven't got too much time, so we've got to pack down here and then pack back up down there, but without these because
it's only live on.
It's only live. Well, actually, we're going to have mics, but
we are going to have mics. I'll tell you what we could do. Right?
Oh,
Pat could do all of that. We can go and have a coffee.
Oh, well, what about a beer? Oh no, we're driving tonight.
Yeah, we are. No, don't worry.
Yeah, well, I was thinking I might run. Well, one of us could run off and get like an early dinner first, maybe like a Nando's. Sorry, we're dragging on a little bit here.
Yeah, let's
quickly.
stop now.
Can we just?
Oh, what?
Nando's.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So you've had Nando's before, right?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Whipping boy.
No, whipping boy.
I've got a loyalty card. Come on.
No whipping boy. No. When we were up in Sheffield last week, opposite the arena, to be fair, there was a lot of fast foody sort of joints there. And my diet at the moment is pretty difficult. Restricted. And but I know I can. Nando's like basically sell like chicken, right?
Yeah.
And you can get plain. So we went there, but Ped's like, before we even got in there, he's looking up. He's like, I've never been in a Nando's before. And then we get in there, and he was acting quite peculiar, wasn't he? It, almost like, what do I do? It's like, well, even Fat Patrick was like, well, you sit down at the table like you do in every single other restaurant. And Ped's like, I've never been in. What else? What do we do? Pick up the menu, have a look at the food. And he's like, honestly.
Oh, you could have had a game and a half with him.
No, this is not whipping boy. This is, I have to let.
If you've not been in a Nando's before, obviously I didn't realise they just really did chicken. Once you decided you want chicken, good job, really, because that's all they sell, right?
How good is it, though?
It was really good.
Have you seen the logo? It's a bit of a giveaway as to what they sell.
Yeah, I know. But so I ordered my chicken, and then you got all the different flavours, the spiciness thing.
It was pretty complicated, but
yeah, I know. I'll have a 4 next time though. I went 3. It wasn't quite spicy.
Well, the aim that Pat and I have set you is to get tea down to a Nando's one day.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah,
no worries.
Anyway, on that note,
right? Should we go on? Maybe you can whip me in front of everyone downstairs because I'm the whipping boy.
That sounds like fun. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, mate.